Hi friends, welcome back to Shelby in the Book Club. I'm Shelby Monet, and in today's video we're going to talk about some of my favorite historical fiction books that I've read over the last few years. Some of these you probably remember me talking about, some of them I probably haven't, but you guys really enjoyed the historical fantasy video that I did, so I thought, why not, let's just get some of this historical fiction out of the way, and then we can move into other genres. So if you would like to hear it, here it go. Before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We are on the road to 2,000, and we are slowly but surely getting closer and closer and closer and closer, and I'm super excited about that. I just love talking about books with y'all, and the recommendations that y'all leave in the comments have been so bomb. I love talking to y'all. So if you would like to hear it for real this time, here we go. Okay, the first book is, if only y'all could see the rest of this bookshelf. I made like this little corner of it look cute. The rest, baby, ghetto. It's a mess. So the first book I couldn't find on my bookshelf. It's up there somewhere, but it is called Shallow Waters. I absolutely love this book. I'll put a picture of it here or here. No, probably over here. It is about the deity, the Orisha Yemaya, and she is placed in America in the 1800s, and she has to go through all of these different things as a Black woman of the time, and it is thought-provoking. It is, I think, a good introduction to the Orishas if you don't know who they are, or if you've never heard of Yemaya. If you like mermaids, this would be a really good book for you. This one probably leans a little bit more historical fantasy, but it's still considered a historical fiction. And I really enjoyed that book. And again, it's a short book, so you can get through it fairly quickly. And it just was really good. The rest of these are in no particular order. So Deacon King Kong by James McBride. If y'all don't know, he is one of my favorite authors. This is a historical fiction. This is I'm not going to say that for every book, I promise. This is funny. This is a mystery. It kind of combines a bunch of different things. But it is about Deacon King Kong. And he's known in the neighborhood as Sport Coat, but he has some drinking problems, and he lives in the projects, and he kills somebody. And we have to figure out why. He does not remember it because of all of the issues that he has. Child boo. That's between Gunner and whoever on the other side of the damn door. He doesn't remember it, and then it goes through everybody's perspectives of who they think did it, why they think it's Deacon. Deacon kind of going through the motions of figuring out his own stuff. What I really loved about this book, as someone that my grandmother lived in the projects when I was growing up, so every day after school, that's where the bus dropped me off at. So it was cool seeing some of these characters that are actual people that I know, right, that I had experienced, from the drug dealers that were on the corner that will buy us ice cream or, you know, give us money to go to the store, from the drunk Deacon, right, the nosy women that lived like on the first or the second floor, and they would hang out their windows and tell all the business or fuss at the kids if we wasn't in the house when the street lights came on. Like, it was very nostalgic for me to see my life represented in a certain way. I think often with literature, Black culture is represented in one particular way, whereas this one was just a story about a drunk who happened to be a deacon, and all of the things that he did messing stuff up, and, you know, the rest of the neighborhood kind of going through the motions to figure it out. So that's like, I think about that book often. I love James McBride. If you've never read anything by him, you should. I don't know what you're waiting for. Okay. Next. This was another book club pick. A Girl is a Body of Water by Jennifer Mesubuga Makumbi. This follows Karabo through her life. And I think what I really enjoyed about this is how culturally rich it is. Like all of the like stories that like her grandmother would tell. So it follows her from a kid all the way up until she is in high school, and just the different things that have happened to her in her life and how it connects to the other women in her family. So, you know, her grandfather had multiple wives, and, you know, her mom wasn't in the picture, but her having to end up go live with her father, and how that changed her life because he wasn't really around when she was a kid. Her grandparents took care of her. Then there was this woman in the village that like everybody shunned, and her building a relationship with that woman. It was so cool to see the different dynamics and how their culture kind of affected the decisions not only Karaba made. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, by the way, but her father made as well. I thought that was really cool. And it kind of just goes real deep into a whole bunch of stuff. This book was really good. It's long, and that can be intimidating to some. It is a thickums, but it's worth it. It doesn't get boring. Oh, this is so cool. I still have my like sticky notes in here. This is what I like about annotating books. Small tangent is that I'll always be able to go back and to see the things that I wrote and what I was feeling at the time, which I think is really cool. That is so cool. This might have to be something that I go back and read again. But this is another good one. Something along the same lines that kind of leans towards a saga is Aria by Nazanin Hozar. This one, I think if you look like at my Goodreads, because I wasn't using Storygraph at the time, I think I didn't give this like a high rating, but this was one of those books that like after the fact it was so good to me. Like it's a book that needs to sit with you. So it's a story about Aria and her life and how she goes through a lot of crazy things. They live in Iran in the 1950s. There's some turmoil, but there's also like Aria is like living in an abusive household, but then she is kind of put somewhere else in a richer household, and like things start to turn around for her. But it's all because she was left on the side of the road when she was born. So it's really a story of womanhood and like how one woman's decision affects her child's life, right? And how, you know, what does it mean to make these decisions, right? To just abandon your baby, which if you have to, you have to. As long as you abandon them, you leave them, I shouldn't say abandon, you leave them in a place that is safe, right? You use your resources. You can leave them at a hospital. You can leave them at a fire station. Obviously, in the 1950s, she didn't have all of this. I'm just saying present day, if somebody see this and you need it, there are resources for you, baby. A lot of things come full circle in this book, and it was really good. It was really thought-provoking. It's a lot of women empowerment in this. It's a lot about overcoming. It's a really, really, really good book. But like I said, when I first read it, it was really something that I had to sit with for a little while. I need to do a better job at like putting the books in places that I can reach. I wanted to save this one for last, but I love it so much that I would like to rant now. Next, we have Don't Cry for Me by Daniel Black. So another historical fiction that I love is also by Daniel Black. It is Perfect Peace. That book is messy. It is about a child who is lied to about their gender until they are 5 or 6, if I remember correctly, and how that whole situation affects the entire family. It is such a good book. It touches on mental health. It touches on how far people will go to get what they want, no matter how it affects everybody else in their household. It also kind of touches on how a small country town will hide something, or they will kind of go against something that someone is doing. It was such a... there's no way that I can prepare you for Perfect Peace and what Perfect Peace is about and how that book plays out. There's no way that I can prepare you. No matter what I tell you, you're not going to be prepared for the mess in that book. I promise you that. I promise you, you will not be ready. So that's how I became a Daniel Black fan. And whatever... I'm trying to think, what did I read first? I think I read Perfect Peace first, and then this came out not too long after I read Perfect Peace, or like around the same time. So Don't Cry for Me is about a man writing a letter to his gay son. Jacob is dying, and with death comes self-reflection. And he's like by himself at this point. If I remember correctly, his wife had passed on, or she left him. She passed on. And the son had moved, and I think Isaac is the only child. Let me see. Yes, his only son, Isaac. So what I love the most about this book is I feel like Black men don't always have the opportunity to be vulnerable and to talk about the things that have happened to them as far as trauma and how it affects how they have done other things, right? It's something that Black people in general need help with. We don't always get the opportunity and the grace to talk about our traumas, particularly in a self-reflective way. So that's what made this book stand out to me to begin with. But some of the things that are touched on, that Jacob was able to sit back and be like, yo, I thought being a man meant this. And when I saw my son doing the direct opposite of what I was always taught manhood meant, I was afraid. And I wasn't smart enough because I didn't have but a 5th, 6th grade education to accept you for who you were. So of course, or not of course, I shouldn't say, but like, how would I, as a man that is told men don't cry, men don't dance a certain way, or men don't like dolls, and men don't do this, like, how was I supposed to accept you when it went against everything that I was told? Right? And how having a child is like putting a mirror on yourself, and it brings up so much trauma, which is why I'm always like, y'all got to give y'all parents a little bit of grace, right? I know that's hard to want to, as somebody that is no contact with their daddy, it's hard to give that man grace, right? It's hard because it's just hard. But then also, I understand that the way that my father is because of his life experiences, right? And just because I have the tools and I have the wherewithal to go to therapy, to apologize to people, to handle people in a certain way that I claim to care about, I can't expect that same thing from him, parent or not. Parent or not, I can't accept that. I can't just expect him to wake up one day and change, because change means going against everything that he believes is true. It means facing yourself in a way that you've never had to before, and the shit hurts. They advertise therapy as this thing that's supposed to just automatically cure you, go to therapy or whatever, but it hurts. It hurts to have to unlearn. So this was so good to me. I would love to sit and listen to Black men talk about just their lives and their perspective of things, not from the podcast bros, okay? Because them niggas, Okay? They could, never mind. Not from them is all I'm saying. Not from the ones that glorify misogynistic tendencies, not from the ones that are living with their traumas on their sleeve, right? No, I want to hear from the ones that are actively doing the work and that are trying to heal, to be better for whatever children they currently have or want to have in the future, to be able to show up for their wife and whatever. Like, I would love to listen to them. I would listen to them all day. This book is that. To have a man, even in his late life, to be able to say, yo, I was wrong. Loud and wrong. And I'm sorry. And it may be too late. Right? But as much as we say that, like, apologies or forgiveness, I should say, is for you. Right? Apologies, I think, are the same way. Sometimes you need to face yourself and say that you were wrong. And that is okay. So this was, I love this book. And again, it's another short one. What I tell y'all about them books that's less than 300 pages, they are going to snatch you up by your collar. Or this one was like exactly 301 pages. But like, they be snatching you up by your collar and be like, I said what I said. Okay, so last but certainly not least, we have A Woman of Endurance. Woo, baby. The reason that I wanted to read this one, I need to get a new copy of this because this copy of this book been through hell. I'm gonna keep this one, but I need one that is in better condition, because I did this book dirty. I didn't mean to, but you know. So this tells the story of Paula, who is an enslaved African woman that ends up on a plantation in Puerto Rico, which is the reason that I picked this book up, because I feel like often when we talk about slavery, we talk about the things that happen in the American South. We leave out Canada. We leave out the complete Caribbean. Okay, we leave out all the other places that this thing happened to. I understand in America we have to learn U.S. history, and U.S. history is built on the backs of slaves, but it did happen in other places too, and I'm always curious about seeing the similarities and the different things that went on and so on and so forth. Like I said to you before, the reason that I love historical fiction is because I am able to learn in a way that is tangible for me. Now, this book, along with some of the other ones on this list, trigger warnings, all of the trigger warnings you can think of, they in this book, okay? They in here. It's about slavery, baby. It's gonna hurt a little bit, okay? But Paula goes through this like transformation that we all go through. I think the thing that I picked up from this book the most is we are not as removed from our ancestors as we think we are, right? Not that I ever want to downplay slavery, but when we think about it on the level of how Black women literally have to work themselves to the bone still to this day, right? How many Black women are dying from stress, complications of stress, or so on and so forth, right? And how we have to navigate sexual assault, child loss, raising children that are from sexual assault, and all of these other things, right? And still have to show up. We are still doing it today. So this main character, she experiences some terrible sexual assault, which leads to a bunch of different pregnancies for her, and she loses all of her children, whether they were taken away from her or she miscarried. And she gets put on this plantation, and she literally has to learn how to accept people and to love again in the beginning by force, because she is on a plantation and she has no choice. But then she like finds this little girl that's living in the woods, and she gets to like aid or like heal that maternal side of her. She may not have her children, but she is able to like nurse this child back to health and be a mother in some way. She's also able to like reinvent her relationship with men, whereas previously it was a very negative experience for her. Obviously, she was able to find love again, which I thought was really powerful. I think a lot of historical fiction around slavery is always about, you know, someone trying to run and either they get away or they get caught or whatever, and it's like this very like basic story. But I think it's important for us to see them as humans that were trying to navigate the life that they were given. I think that's important. It makes them real, because also as well, we are doing those same things too. And we may not be getting tied to trees and lynched and whipped within the inch of our lives, but it's like, although our struggles look very different, they aren't as different as we think they are in a lot of ways. So this book was powerful in that way for me, because one, it was a plantation in Puerto Rico, something we don't often, you know, or ever hear about. But she was a woman going through things that women go through. She was a woman going through things that women go through. From having to navigate relationships with other women, right, when she didn't really want to. And granted, she didn't have a choice because she was a slave, but still, think about work, right? I don't have a choice but to get along with those people because I need the money. I have to work. If I don't work, then I don't feed my children. I don't get to live a somewhat decent life outside of, you know. So it was very interesting. Like I said, you can't really compare anything to slavery because there is nothing like it. But when you sit back and you look at how far women have come, and it's like we're still going through the same things, similar things to what our ancestors went through. Why? 400, 500 years later? Why? So it's very interesting. I think an honorable mention, because I'm looking at it. I think I just talked about this in another video. Maybe not. But The Book of Night Women, another historical fiction, but it takes place in the Caribbean. This takes place in Jamaica. I will be honest with you and say that I did not like the main character in this book. Lilith was a pain in my ass. From the rooted to the tutor, but this is not a terrible book. It did make me feel like Marlon James does not like women. I think there's a difference between writing a character that lives in a realm where nothing good happens to them versus writing a character that makes unsmart decisions. I think it's very telling how characters are written in the decisions that the characters make and so on and so forth. Some of it is going to be based on, you know, the life that they were born into, right? But some of it is also a display of how authors feel. But this is another historical fiction that I enjoyed. Now, some historical fiction that I would like to read, another Marlon James book, excuse me, A Brief History of 7 Killings. I've heard a few people really enjoy this, but this book is long as jacks. So I need to hype myself up for that. I'm trying to think. Do I have anything else that I can like grab real quick? No, I don't, but that's one. There's a bunch of historical fiction that I want to read. There are a few that are coming out that maybe I'll do another video on, like a part 2 to this, to some historical fiction that I want to read, so that this video just doesn't go on forever and ever. So without further ado, if no one has told you today, I love you. You are kind, you are smart, you are important. Repeat that to yourself if you need to. Times are hard. It feels like the world is on fire. Take care of your mental health. 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 If you made it this far, because I haven't said this in a video in a long time, if you made it this far, put purple hearts in the comments. I love you. Bye, friends.